talk to them, they seem nice. In the first 5 minutes, they're pitching their deal to you. And as an experienced person, it's a big turnoff. So I think that you want to get a relationship with people. You want to find out if their goals are going to fit in with what you're doing, and you feel comfortable with them, they feel comfortable with you, and then maybe at that point it's time to talk about a deal. But I think it's better people ask, hey, what deals do you have? And you're presenting a deal in response to what their questions are, or them getting to know you, and you're not immediately, being salesy and pitching a deal. And it comes across as kind of desperate also. I don't like it. When it's happened to me at conferences, it's just always been not impressive.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. All right, welcome to Real Estate Hustlers Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Appleman, founder and CEO of Appleman Capital. Today we are joined with David Priest. He's a seasoned real estate pro with 20 plus years of experience, a broker for 15 plus years, and a GP on 600 plus units, LP on over 1,000 units across different asset classes. David, if you could let the listeners know a little bit more about yourself. Thank you.
Fantastic. I basically started getting into real estate in 2003. So before the great financial crisis, but it was very transactional. So I was learning the mortgage business, started doing mortgages, went out on my own in 2008, kind of an interesting time to start a mortgage company and go out on your own, but did that. Did about 15 more years after that, had a very successful company. A lot of my competition quit. So that was a great lesson from the crisis. Got my real estate license in 2009, started brokering deals, and really did residential for that first 20 years of experience. Got interested in multifamily in 22 through a friend, started researching it, kind of went full-time in 2023. Spent about a year really learning the trade, networking, and kind of getting really comfortable, because it's definitely a different world than single family. And then started working on deals as an LP and a GP in 24. Felt like the market was really prime and it was time to start making moves. And that's kind of my history.
Got it. Okay. Let's roll back to the very first deal or first scenario that got you into real estate investing. Like what would that look like?
The interesting thing that I did is I skipped single family investing completely. So it's kind of a different journey. So all the years I was successful in the mortgage business and I was real estate brokering, I wasn't buying any single families at all. So I was afraid not of the debt, not of buying the single families, not that it was a bad investment. I just didn't want to manage properties. And so I was really afraid of the management part of it and kind of did it transactionally. And single family didn't appeal to me as much because I was doing a lot of deals for people that own single families. I was hearing horror stories. I was seeing their cash flow, their balance sheets when I was doing their mortgages. So for me, it didn't have a lot of appeal. When I got into multifamily, I started seeing numbers that were a lot more appealing. And I love the idea of forced appreciation. And you really couldn't do that in the single family world. And working on better deals and having professionals manage the property and not being as much part of the management. So that was very appealing to me, and that kind of sucked me into the business, where I really thought this was a great way to go.
How did you learn how to underwrite deals and kind of due diligence for your investors?
Very carefully. So originally, when I went full time in 2023, I had really been learning and picking up things the whole year of 2022. Several things happened that really sped up the journey. One was interest rates climbed significantly in 2022. So that started choking off my mortgage business. My mortgage business was on the decline. I had really made a killing during COVID. Very strange. My business was very profitable during COVID because of the interest rates were low. People were sitting at home, not doing anything. A lot of time to refinance their mortgage. So it was a really good time for me. The rates were going up. I was starting getting an interest in multifamily and doing more commercial real estate. And the fact that the rates were going up in my business, my other business was down, it gave me time to work on it. Originally, I was going to go out and buy my deals, start small, buy a 50 unit or whatever, and kind of work up from there. So I spent about a year trying to do that, working on it, and actually learning how to underwrite, learning how to kind of be a jack of all trades, which is what I had done in my other businesses. That does not work in this business, but I didn't know that at the time, and I was trying to learn everything. So I did get a pretty good base of knowledge. And then I went out and tried to buy a property at the very end of 2023, and got a 90-unit under contract here in Houston. We had all kinds of problems on the deal. My loan signer, my key principal, was in trouble with Fannie Mae. So we had a bunch of issues on that one. We decided the best thing to do was to walk on that deal. So my first experience was definitely a negative one, but it actually worked out really, really well, because what happened along the way is I met someone that was going to help me on that deal. When I decided the best thing to do was to pass on this deal because of all the problems we were having, I immediately was able to go out and work with them and general partner on a 296 unit. And I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if I hadn't taken action on that first deal, which was not a favorable outcome, but it kind of led to a better success. So I think taking action always leads to success, even if there's some failure along the way. And that was my experience.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, that kind of goes into your first deal. And then what did you bring to the table to earn a GP spot?
Well, I had basically started capital raising on my own deal. And when I decided to blow that deal out, and it was a smart decision to do it, I had to let go of my pride. I had to send all that money back. So I knew I could raise money. And the person I was working with, he knew what was going on. He heard that deal blew out, and he came to me and said, "Hey, would you like to raise some money in GP on this deal? And it'd be a good chance for you to kind of, recover." He had had a very similar experience on his first deal. He had gotten a deal under contract like 15 years ago and couldn't execute, couldn't close, I don't know what happened exactly, but he couldn't execute on the deal. And so he said, on my first deal, I lost money too. So where you're at, I've been where you're at. And so he came to me and said, "Would you like to raise money on this deal?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "Can you raise $1 million on this deal?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem. We'll do it. I need 45 days and we'll make it happen." I obviously got off the phone and had a major panic attack, because I was like, I'd never raised that much money before. I wasn't really sure if I could do it, but at the time I really needed to make a comeback from the problem I'd had on the other deal. So I jumped in there, and we ended up raising over $1 million on that first deal. So it was a really good start, gave me a lot of confidence that I could do that. And I kind of felt like I was locked in, like, okay, I can do this now. And I also felt like the capital raising was where I should focus my efforts, because it's a needed skill, and everybody needs money for their deals. And when I focus on one thing, which is capital raising, I'm not looking for deals. I'm not going out and working with brokers. I'm not worrying as much about the due diligence or managing the properties. And that's a better fit for my lifestyle.
Yeah, that works. So you were able to raise $1 million. That got you a position on a GP. And then what kind of investors were you working with? Is it just retail investors? Any family offices?
It was retail. So, I
Okay.
mean, I did it the hard way. It was $50,000 or $100,000 at a time. I think my biggest investor on that first one was 150,000. So I was working with the retail investors doing that. I wasn't really ready at that point to talk to bigger investors or family offices. I didn't really want to go out and do that at that time. I figured if I made a mistake, I wanted to make it with smaller amounts of money rather than going out and chasing a family office. And that's still what I'm doing right now. I would love to talk to bigger investors and family offices, but I right now at this point in my journey, I haven't done a lot of outreach on that.
Got it. How's that deal going for your investors right now?
Really good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one lesson I learned, and it really strengthened my resolve to like just work with really good operators, was when I saw that deal and I looked at it, I realized how much better it was than my deal I had worked on. So you have a situation where people that are in the business, they can do bigger deals, they can execute on bigger deals and close. They get shots at much better deals. So if you're newer in the business, you're going to be on the C or D team, and you're probably going to get a deal sent to you unless you just stumble across a good deal with an owner directly. When you see a deal, there's going to be 50 people that looked at it before you did, generally, if you're newer in the business. And so that really gave my resolve to stick with partnering with great operators, let them go out and find a good deal. They come to me, I can say yes or no. And when I'm raising for other people's deals, I feel like I'm less biased. It's not like you're raising for one of your babies as much. And so you can really look at it objectively and say, this is a good deal, this is not a good deal. I want to jump on this one. I'm going to pass. This one isn't right for me at this time.
When you're talking to your investors, what kind of deal terms are they looking for as LPs?
Yeah, so I mean, most of my people are going to be 50 or 100,000. One thing we are looking at doing, we're setting up right now in the future, is going to be doing it as a fund. So it'll be doing as one big LP on every deal. It won't be a blind fund. We'll be pulling people together, bringing $1 million to the deal, not doing a co-GP model, doing more of a fund model, and basically combining people's money and trying to get better economics for people. So that's one thing I'm going to be doing in the future. I think a lot of it, when you're working with retail people, the $50,000 to $100,000 investor, you invest a lot of time in education, answering questions, and really it's more of a customer service thing than anything else. And it's also educating people and getting to the point where they feel comfortable with the investment, and also looking out for people and really vetting the deal carefully. I'm putting my own money in every deal. So I've got money at risk also in every deal. And I think that's one of the best ways to look out for investors. And I wouldn't invest along somebody if they were not putting money in each deal themselves.
Yeah. What kind of assets are you all going for? Is it core? Is it value add, A, B, C?
Most of what I've done so far has been value add. But the way I look at value add is right now in this market, the best value add is getting a great deal, a great price. So the way I look at value add is you want to have value add components on the deal, but you want to find distressed sellers that have to sell. So getting a great price, a great basis, that is the main value add. I don't really want to go into properties where there is, a bad location, a bad area, there's crime, there's occupancy problems. If you can find a deal where the occupancy is really good and it's in a good location, and the person got bridge debt like in 2022, and the debt went out of control on the rates and they have to sell, they just can't make their mortgage payments, and that's the only thing really wrong with the deal, I think those are really, really good deals to pick up, because you can get such a discount. So if you get a 30% discount over what they paid a year or 2 or 3 years ago, that's a value add, is getting a good deal.
Yeah, but that's if you can find that, and if you can set it up to where it's not already upside down. If you can get,
Yeah.
if they can get out of it and willing to get out of it like that.
Well, I mean, on the first two I did, it was facing a foreclosure. The sellers did not have a choice. It was sell or foreclose, and the lender was, not giving them a choice. They had gotten into bridge debt, gotten into trouble, could not make the mortgage payments. The deal wasn't cash flowing. They ran out of money. On the first two, the amazing thing was that they had a lot of CapEx for construction. These guys were really good construction guys. And they went in and, painted the properties, rehabbed some of the units, did new roofs, did a lot of work. So we got a 30% discount and got that CapEx for free that they had spent $2 or $3 million on both properties. So looking for those kind of deals where there can be a value add component, but it also cash flows from day one, and you're just recapitalizing. You're buying it for the loan amount, getting new fixed rate debt, and raising enough equity to achieve that, and having good reserves, and making sure you've got a deal that cash flows immediately.
Yeah. How did you all find that deal?
I didn't find it, so the operators found it. So that's one thing. I want to network with good operators. I want them to find deals. I'm not out looking for deals. If somebody brings me something and I think it looks good, I'll pass it along to one of my operators and let them take a look at it, and then they decide to pull the trigger or not. So on these deals, I'm coming in at the point where they've already got the deal under contract. They're already in due diligence, or due diligence is complete. They present the deal to me, and then I'll look at that point if I want to raise money for it or not. So it's great for me.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Tell us about some educational ways of learning the industry, learning how to capital raise, and some ways that you've learned so that the listeners can kind of know how to find out how to do it.
Yeah. So a little bit of the capital raising for me came from my background, came from my mortgage background. So I did mortgages for 20 years. So I was like selling an intangible and kind of selling money. Obviously, I was selling debt and not selling the investment, but I'd been selling intangibles over the phone really for about 20 years. And it was really old school in the beginning. We used to go out and meet everybody face to face. And that changed during COVID. I started using Zoom. So we're really using like the same tools. So for me, I had the background in it already. I was already doing sales. I was already doing intangibles. So there wasn't really a big transition there. I think for capital raising, you have to constantly be bringing people in and be educating them. So that as much as you can do to, when you first meet people, not pitching them a deal immediately and trying to find out what their educational level is and then put them through education that's going to get them ready where they feel confident. That's where most of your effort should be, because if you have good education, you educate investors and you do it in a way that you're not really expecting them to invest, you're really giving with no expectation, trying to help people, in their journey, then when it comes time to capital raise on a deal, generally you won't have trouble raising the money you need.
Yeah, yeah, that works. And then you build up a track record of your deals, your IRRs hit target, your cash on cash, your exits, everything, and then your
Yeah.
capital raising becomes
Yeah,
even faster.
that takes time. And I don't sell my own track record. I always sell the track record of the people that we're investing with, the operators. So I'm very careful about that track record, interviewing people, kind of finding out where they're at, finding out what issues they have and what issues they're dealing with right now and how they're handling it. If I talk to someone at lunch and they tell me that they've got a $3,000 portfolio and everything's perfect and it's all hunky dory and it's great, I like buying their lunch, and then I'll probably never talk to them again because I know I can't trust them because everybody's having trouble right now. So if you have people that are in trouble, it's okay if they're honest about it. And then I'm really on the risk reduction side, looking at experienced operators, fixed rate debt, and deals that cash flow for day one. I know those deals sometimes don't have the greatest returns, but I'm generally more worried about losing money when I'm capital raising, losing someone's principal, than I'm making stellar returns. And I feel like the deals we're doing right now that are fixed rate debt and they're a 15 to 20 IRR, when the market improves, they probably will exit at a much higher IRR than that. But I'm more careful about not making the mistakes people made a few years ago where they're doing bridge debt and they're buying deals that don't cash flow and they're getting in trouble almost immediately.
Yeah, that pretty much ruined the industry to a certain degree, because then the prices just went up throughout the country because there's idiots buying them on a negative cash flow out of the gates.
Yeah, it worked until it didn't work. There was easy money. There was a lot of mentoring groups that were pulling people together. Unfortunately, some of the people that were put in charge of properties as, the top operator, the lead sponsor, the captain of the ship, had no sailing experience whatsoever. And when they got in trouble, they were not able to operate through that. And it's a system that kind of worked until it didn't work. So I'm not judgmental of people. I always say that if I got in the business 5 years earlier, I probably would have joined a mentoring group and I might have gone out and bought a few properties and lost one of them by now. So I'm not judging people, but I want to look back at the mistakes. It's like going through the financial crisis. You look at the mistakes that happened before the financial crisis and what lessons can you learn? And hopefully you come out and you do better and you're more protective of people's money. So when I'm capital raising, my whole thing in mind is with my people is not for them to not lose money. So I'm being extra careful, and it's a different level of care than just me investing my own money in a deal.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. That's and a lot of the operators had, like you had mentioned, no experience, and they were in it for just to get the fees um, and then hand it over to a property management company, and hopefully they did a good job. So
Yeah.
it's it is what it is. But I think that that's where the good deals are coming, and we'll see what that looks like too. Um, how do you approach new investors that have not done a deal yet and want to learn and want to know what it all looks like?
Well, I'm right now I'm doing an educational program that's a webinar I'm doing for people. It's about 5 hours. I'm doing these, I'm putting them on YouTube. So I'm trying to educate people. I'm trying to find, I think the main thing is when you meet new people is find out where they're at, what their goals are, and not present a deal to them immediately, even if you have one. I mean, I think everyone's had the experience of being in a conference. You meet somebody, you talk to them, they seem nice. In the first 5 minutes, they're pitching their deal to you. And even as an experienced person, it's a big turnoff. So I think that you want to get a relationship with people. You want to find out if their goals are going to fit in with what you're doing, and you feel comfortable with them, they feel comfortable with you, and then maybe at that point, it's time to talk about a deal. But I think it's better people ask, hey, you know, what deals do you have? And you're presenting a deal in response to what their questions are, or them getting to know you, and you're not immediately, you know, being salesy and pitching a deal. And it comes across as kind of desperate. Also, I don't like it when it's happened to me at conferences. It's just always been not impressive.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. It's like the LinkedIn Messenger is constantly getting blown up by people just pitching themselves all day long. It's beyond annoying. But if you've got somebody who legitimately has cash to invest, to deploy, and they want that cash to make money, I mean, it can be they need to be educated. They don't want to necessarily be sold. Um, Very cool. What have you found the difference between raising 500,000 and say 5 million?
Well, I haven't got to the 5 million level yet. So I'd love to be able to bring that much money to a deal. What I'm looking at right now, or what I'm trying to do, is get where I'm pretty comfortable with 1 million. And my first deal, I did that. But then one mistake I made as a capital raiser is I came off that deal and I was like stoked, like totally stoked. Deal closed. I was like, oh my God, this is great. And I remember, like, as a capital raiser, I don't see 1 million as that much money. I mean, it's kind of what my philosophy is. And I remember my wife was thinking, oh my God, like you hit a home run. And I was like, no, I hit a home run like in Little League. Like $1 million is kind of nothing. It just kind of punches a ticket to get on a decent deal. It's not really that amazing amount of money. So I kind of made the rookie mistake of going back to people. I had another deal somebody wanted to help me with, and I jumped right back into another deal like 2 weeks later. And I was going and hitting a lot of the same people. And they're like, hey, I just wired $100,000 in a couple weeks ago. I'm not ready yet for another deal. So that one was more challenging. And then I learned how to kind of take a break. I would, right now, I'm not at the point where I could raise like multiple millions of dollars. But one thing I might do if I get to that level, I may limit my risk on each deal to where I raise $1 million, which I think will get me on any deal out there right now. And then tell people I'll raise 1 million. And when I hit 1 million, that's all I'm going to raise. I'm going to get you your 1 million, and then I'm going to move on to other deals, because I'm not sure I want to put, at my stage, I want to put 3 or 4 or $5 million into one deal with all my investors. And then if something happens on that deal, I don't want all my investors to go down with the ship. I want to kind of move it around and diversify a little bit.
That makes sense. Yeah. No, I agree. Very cool. The books that you have behind you, looks like you've read a bunch of books, and that's just putting knowledge in your brain. Tell us some books that listeners could read to learn more about capital raising or mindset to shift into to that degree.
Yeah, I mean, on I would say on capital raising, like Hunter Thompson's book is really good on raising private capital. It's behind me, I believe. The other book, really, capital raising is all about networking. So any book on networking is good. Never Eat Alone, which is behind me, is really, really good. And the book I read recently that was kind of transformational for me was Who Not How, and that one's right behind me. That book is a game changer. And if you haven't read that book, I would, whatever book you want to read next, read that one next. It was game changing for me because I came from such a solopreneur background, like in my company. I had a one assistant for many years. I went out and decided to do real estate full time. And then during COVID technology, I was doing my mortgage company by myself. I was doing the whole thing. I did about $600 million in mortgages over 20 years, basically by myself with an assistant. So I wasn't really used to networking and working with other people. And Who Not How was a game changer because it really teaches you, when you want to reach a goal, don't just try to do everything yourself and improve yourself and become a better person. There's nothing wrong for that. But if you can learn to collaborate with people and find people that are a lot better than you at the things you need, and maybe they're 10 years beyond, you know, where you're at right now, you can achieve goals you can't imagine a whole lot faster. And for me, that book is a real game changer. So that's one I'm really big on right now.
Cool. No, I totally agree. I've read that book and a lot of other ones that you have behind you too. So just knowledge that compounds for sure. David, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, learn more about yourself, possibly invest alongside you, how can they reach out?
Best way is going to be LinkedIn. It's David R. Priest. I am on LinkedIn. Or you can call my business number, leave a message, and I'll call you back when I can. Business number is 713 520-7700. Also on LinkedIn, you can book an appointment with me directly from LinkedIn, and that's the best way to reach me if you want to make sure you're getting me.
Cool. Awesome. David, definitely appreciate the insights. Look forward to following you, and we will talk soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Bye.